You're listening to 2024 in Review, a look back at some of the most compelling conversations and stories of the year, from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers Podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring author, psychologist, and daily contributor, Siobhan Scott.
Picture this. Your child, or someone in general, comes to you, but more specifically, your child comes to you and says, I need help. I'm not feeling right. Things aren't going well at school. I don't really think that I'm feeling the greatest. There's something mentally going on here. Literally writes it out for you with illustrations of shooting his classmates. Yeah, I need help. Help me, in bold letters. If you're a parent, if you're just someone who cares, if you have a pulse, the reasonable response would be, okay, what can we do to get you help? What was the response of Ethan Crumbly's parents? What kind of help did they give him? They bought him a gun. Not exactly the help one needs when they're fantasizing about executing classmates or themselves. But that's what happened. And now James Crumbly, dad, one of the two parents who got those messages and thought, mental health help, medication, something. No, gun. Gun is the best idea. He's on trial for that very decision that was made. Siobhan Scott, psychotherapist and author, joining me to discuss. It's really kind of cut and dry, I think, of just how irresponsible the parenting was here.
Yeah, if there was ever a case of gross negligence, which is what they need to prove to get an involuntary manslaughter conviction, this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
It's, as I've said, it's equivalent to taking a depressed 15-year-old, giving him a couple bottles of liquor and handing him the car keys and say, go out and have a fun night. It's just really hard to believe how people can be that negligent.
It is, especially when it is just so clear cut on what happened here. This isn't a case where the kid was, distant, but, put on a fairly positive facade, and maybe you didn't see it coming, or they're really involved with their friends or a different thing. You're like, oh, let them be them. This is right in front of them, literally with the illustrations even of just how troubled he was. And yet they didn't do anything to help him. There's arguments that are going to be made that, well, the counselor or the school said, well, you let him be here. It's fine. But is that really strong enough to dismiss the lack of parenting when your son is coming to you and saying these things and doing these things?
Yeah, I don't think that it's a strong enough case at all. We hold parents criminally accountable when there is a death to their child that results from neglect, and I think of those religious families who believe in faith healing. And so the kids die of sepsis or diabetes because they won't give them insulin. We hold parents accountable when people die. And when mental illness, and this kid clearly had mental illness, he was psychotic. When that is ignored, I don't think there's any doubt that there's criminal culpability.
What I wonder here a little bit is there mental illness with the parents? And would that be taken into account? I don't know. We haven't really seen a whole lot of it. I do kind of, just on the surface question it a bit, especially with James, who is on trial right now. But, if there is something there, would that be taken into account on his, lack of appropriate response?
Yeah, there certainly wasn't with the mother. I mean, I think we had enough evidence that she functioned very well in work and, was out on her horses and functioning her unusual sexual practices, were different, but I don't think it was indicative of mental illness per se. The father, we don't have any evidence about that yet. And is that something that they could introduce as a mitigating factor? Yeah, they could try it. They'd have to really prove it, but that's possible.
I guess it's so frustrating just, as I described it at the very beginning, someone pleading for help and you buy them a gun. It doesn't seem to make any sense. I know one of the other, points that they're going to be trying to make here about James is, he was depressed. He was in a bad place. He had recently lost his job. He's doing DoorDash, and he was trying to provide. He was trying to do, what he could for his family. That's the angle, and it looks like he was trying to do that. But at the same point, just making horrible decisions or not being remotely present. I think it's not even about being present in this, because he was aware of what was going on. He literally, in one of the texts, and this is probably going to be the nail in the coffin for him, is telling his son to suck it up and take some pills when the son came to him.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think is just striking, which came out yesterday in the opening statements from the prosecution, is that the gun came with a cable lock system. And not only was it not used, it had not been taken out of the package. So, put it in a gun safe that's unlocked. You have another locking system. You failed to use it. I don't think that depression accounts for that kind of poor judgment. I think to really have a mental health factor weigh in heavily, it would have to be he was psychotic and clearly not grounded in reality, where depressed people are still grounded in reality, you know?
Is this another one of those cases where it's too hard, and I'm saying that kind of in air quotes, too hard to deal with reality of, oh my God, my son really might have some serious mental health problems, and it's better to look the other way or pretend that it's not happening. I mean, I think we see it quite often where parents are oblivious or willingly oblivious.
Willingly oblivious.
Because they don't want to have that kid. They don't want their kid to be the one that needs some help or has some sort of problem. So rather than get them help, they just carry on as if this is a healthy, normal child who could handle a firearm or something of that nature. Yeah. Denial is a human problem that shows up over and over in all settings, and I think parents who are very focused on themselves and very self-centered, it's serving them as a defense mechanism to not recognize the things that are right in front of them. But again, that doesn't indicate a break with reality. And they're still, I think, legally responsible for this. And I think you said it really good right there, was it's serving them, not anyone else. Reality, the child that they're supposedly caring for and loving, and everyone else around them, be damned. It's serving them in that purpose, which, that kind of gets into narcissism and things of that nature. But again, it doesn't absolve you of responsibility because you're willingly making that choice, correct?
Definitely. On some level, you're choosing not to see the obvious there. And we can look at so many kinds of crimes. People who repeatedly drive drunk, what are they thinking? But they're not psychotic. And so there's still that level of, on some level, you're in reality enough to know what you're doing here, and you are responsible.
Sick of the ads?
We are too.
Start listening with no commercials now and get access to all of our episodes in advance of everyone else.
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Sign up now.